5 years of pursuit only resulted in a fierce scolding. 5 years of meticulousness were taken for granted. Yihun pierced through the Douluo world and unexpectedly became Ning Rongrong's big licking dog. Soul Lord, titled as the grandson of Douluo, is a peerless genius with the world's top defensive martial soul. Such a high-quality licking dog, he was even scolded to the point of vomiting blood and fainting to death. You should be the original body. Don't lick the gentle and charming little dance, the icy beauty Zhu Zhuqing who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside. You insist on licking the little witch Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong. Dogs don't even lick. Being a licking dog is not promising. Ding. The goddess strategy system has been bound. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. Ning Rongrong. Dogs don't chase without pop-ups, Douluo. Ning Rongrong. Dogs don't chase TXT complete collection download, Douluo. Ning Rongrong. Dogs don't even chase after the latest chapters to read. Chapter 1. Crossing into a big licking dog. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Crossing into a big licking dog, Gui. Can you stay away from me? Why are you so annoying? You hang around in front of me every day, don't you have your own business to do? I tell you, Ning Rongrong will never like you. Can you stop appearing in front of me? You make me feel very nauseous. I didn't expect to cross over to a big licking dog, and the object of my licking was actually 12-year-old Ning Rongrong. Images kept flashing through her mind, and Guyi's face was filled with contempt. This original body is really a top-notch licking dog. Tang boiling turtle reincarnation, right? In fact, Guyi is still somewhat shrouded at this time. I was soaking in the bathtub of my home on Earth for the last second, but the next second I suddenly crossed into the world of Douluo continent, on a 12-year old depressed teenager who couldn't help but lick. And the identity of this young man is actually the biological grandson of the Seven Treasures Glass sect Bone Douluo, a character that has not appeared in the original work. In his original memory, this boy with the same name as himself was Ning Rongrong's loyal licking dog from a young age. Mingming inherited the top defensive soul, Bone Dragon, from Gu Douluo in the world, and at the age of only 12, he is already a level 35 soul lord. What kind of woman can't catch up with such a talented position? I insist on pursuing Ning Rongrong, that proud little princess. In memory, the original licking dog attribute is well known to everyone. Ning Rongrong said that she hates the weak who are being slaughtered by others, and her original body is crazily practicing. Ning Rongrong said she dislikes those who make her angry. She obediently follows her orders, like a butler guarding her, without any dignity. Ning Rongrong said she wanted the most beautiful jewelry in Tiando City, so she spent all her savings and bought Ocean Heart for her. But just before and after sending the heart of the ocean to Ning Rongrong's face, what I saw was not her surprised smile, but rather a look of annoyance, disdain, and even disdain. She threw her original body into the dust with those hurtful words. With that disgusted gaze, he fiercely pierced through his original heart. All his persistence and efforts were like a joke, and his original self was the clown who worked hard to perform. Licking a dog is not a good way to die. The forest is so big, it's not just one tree. Gui understood this truth a long time ago, but his original body did not collide with the south wall and did not turn back. Since I have traveled here now, it is impossible for me to be a licking dog again. With so many beautiful women in Douluo continent, do I have to lick you, Ning Rongrong? As soon as Gui had this idea, the next moment, a mechanical sound suddenly rang out in his mind. Ding! The goddess strategy system is currently being bound. Goddess strategy system. Gui was startled by the sudden appearance of the sound. Ding! Host binding successful. The current goddess's favorability is as follows. Xiaowu's favorability is 0%, Zhu Zhuqing's favorability is 0%, Hulaiina's favorability is 0%, Qian Rengshu's favorability is 0%, Ning Rongrong's favorability is 0.8%. A light curtain suddenly popped up in front of Gu Yi, displaying the favorability of each beautiful woman who appeared in the original work towards her. Even Meng, who has a low appearance rate, and Shui Binger are included, but because Su is not masked, their favorability towards the protagonist is currently at a level of 0%. As for Ning Rongrong, Gu Yi sneered at the 0.8% data. The original body was waved back and forth as soon as you called it, and after being a licking dog for 5 years, it turned out to be like this. Now that I'm traveling, don't expect me to continue licking you. I want to be a war wolf. But what's the use of this system? As a loyal reader of novels, Gu Yi naturally knows what the system represents. But while others are invincible with fake systems and facial recognition systems, my own system seems a bit strange. Can you still help yourself conquer girls? Hee, I'm a war wolf. How could someone else help me? Ding. This system can monitor the goddess's favorability towards the host in real time. When the favorability meets a certain requirement, the host can receive random rewards. The higher the favorability, the better the reward. Upon hearing this, a smile appeared on Gu Yi's face. Turns out it's for giving rewards. Isn't this forcing me to have an harem? This system is really annoying. However, let's forget about Ning Rongrong. I won't take care of this young lady's temper. Since that's the case, let's go straight to Shrek College and have a look. At this point in time, they should also start recruiting students. Gu Yi thought about it and secretly made up his mind. He is very familiar with the original work, and if he wants to have contact with these goddesses, Shrek College is definitely his best place to go. Moreover, according to the original work, in 6 years, the Martial Soul Hall will come to destroy the 7 Treasures Glass sect. At that time, the 4 titled Douluo will take action together. How can the 7 Treasures Glass sect resist? Gu Yi must find a way to improve his strength now, otherwise, let's go talk to Grandpa first, so that I can also get my tuition. Speaking, Gu Yi patted the dust off his body and walked quickly towards the main hall of the 7 Treasures Glass sect. Gu Yi currently doesn't have any gold soul coins on him. The licking dog in his original form has already squandered all his savings. If he wants to enroll, he must first receive support from his grandfather Gu Rong. And Gu Rong has been waiting by Ning Fengji's side for a long time, so it is most likely to go to the main hall to find him now. On the way to the main hall, the disciples of the 7 Treasures Glass sect showed a strange expression on their faces when they saw Gu Yi. I heard that Gu Yi was so angry and knocked out by the young lady today. What a pity. If I were to lose face like this, I would never dare to come out and meet anyone. Harmful. What is this? Has he done less embarrassing things for the young lady? That's true. Since childhood, every time the young lady caused trouble, it was Gu Yi who took the initiative to take the blame. The worst time was when he was publicly hung up and beaten by Gu Douluo. In order to pursue the young lady, he really didn't want his face. Also, there was an accident when the young lady was getting the soul ring before. She was about to be attacked by the soul beast, but Gu Yi jumped out and stopped in front of it. As a result, the soul beast was killed by his disciple, but he himself was seriously injured due to his lack of strength. Afterwards, I did not see any improvement in the young lady's attitude towards him. Isn't this cheap? Keep it down, after all, he is the grandson of Elder Gu. If he causes trouble, we won't be able to afford it. Okay. There's more. There's more. Let me tell you. Listening to these words in his ear, Gu Yi felt ashamed. This original body is really outrageous. Why trample on oneself like Ning Rongrong, despite having the same status? Accelerate your pace. Just as I walked to the corridor next to the main hall, I suddenly met Ning Rongrong who had just left. It's really unlucky, Gu Yi raised her eyebrows and whispered to herself. Ning Rongrong frowned in annoyance when he saw Gu Yi and said, "I've told you everything I need to say today, haven't I? I don't want to see you again. Don't wander in front of me. Really, I can see you everywhere, it's disgusting." Looking at that pretty face, Gu Yi felt greatly annoyed. This is the effect of licking dogs. 5 years of dedication, the attitude obtained is not even as good as that of a stranger. Ning Rongrong is willing to smile twice when he sees a dog on the roadside, but only disgusted when he sees his true self. Now Gu Yi is not so angry with Ning Rongrong as he is angry with his original self. Be angry and not argue. People want face, trees want skin, not to fight for face, but to fight for breath. Angered, Gu Yi naturally didn't have a good expression and said coldly, "It's a coincidence. I don't want to see you now. Miss, I won't pester you again in the future, let's take care of ourselves." After speaking, Gu Yi strode away without any attachment. Ning Rongrong was foolish, as it was the first time she had seen Gu Yi's attitude towards her. There was a hint of disbelief in her eyes, but soon she was engulfed by anger again. She is so big, she has always been the only one who doesn't give others a good face. How could she still turn to others? Gu Yi. Stop me. Ning Rongrong angrily rebuked towards Gu Yi's back. But Gu Yi didn't pay attention. He had already understood what to say, so he was too lazy to stay and be scolded. He thought he was the licking dog. Humph. Seeing Gu Yi pretending not to hear, Ning Rongrong stomped the ground with anger, and his anger grew even stronger. She let out a proud snort and quickly ran to Gu Yi, spreading her arms to stop him. I told you to stop. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Zhu Zhuqing on the brink of death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Zhu Zhuqing on the brink of death. If you ask me to stop, do I have to stop? Didn't you say you don't want to see me again? What's the point of blocking in front of me now? Gu Yi looked at Ning Rongrong with a cold expression and asked in displeasure. Who made you ignore me? If I asked you to stop, you had to stop. Ning Rongrong was initially stuttered with words, but then stopped reasoning and started throwing tantrums. Ha! Gu Yi was too lazy to pay attention to her. After a sneer, 3 soul rings appeared around him. In the next moment, his figure disappeared into Ning Rongrong's eyes. This is his 3rd soul skill. Space transfer. When his figure reappeared, he had already arrived in the main hall of the sect. At this moment, Ning Fengji was having a dark face, with Gu Douluo standing beside him, as if they were arguing about something. The appearance of Gu Yi immediately caught the attention of the two, especially Ning Fengji. When he saw Gu Yi, a hint of embarrassment appeared on his face. Xiaoyi. Are you okay? Ning Feng asked with concern. Obviously, Lord Ning already knows about the troubles that his original body encountered today. Don't worry, Uncle Ning, I'm fine, Gu Yi replied calmly. It's okay, Rongrong has really gone too far this time. It's all because Uncle Ning spoils her too much. Xiaoyi, don't worry, I will definitely teach her a good lesson later. As she spoke, anger reappeared on Ning Fengji's face. No need, Uncle Ning. I came this time to say goodbye. I want to take this opportunity to go out and relax. Upon hearing this, Ning Fengji did not refuse. Now that this matter has caused a stir throughout the entire sect, Gu Yi may feel better going out now. Okay, but you can also bring this gold card with you. It contains 2 million gold soul coins, which can be considered as some compensation from Uncle Ning to you. After speaking, Ning Fengji handed a card to Gu Yi's hand. Seeing this, Gu Yi did not refuse and calmly put it in his pocket. Later, he chatted with the two for a while before turning around and leaving the main hall. He quickly walked towards the outside of Qiando City. On the way, Gu Yi even hired a coachman with golden soul coin. Qiando City is almost a month away from Shrek Academy, so having a carriage for transportation is always good. Moreover, he can also use this period of time to further enhance his soul power, so that when he goes to participate in the assessment, he is not afraid of being abused too badly by Zhao Wuji. 28 days later. Shrek is still 2 days away. Gu Yi had been a servant in the dust all the way, and now he was starving and thirsty. Just as he was about to find a place to stop and rest. At this moment. Ding! Detected that the target goddess Zhu Zhuqing is in crisis and is 560 meters away from the host. It is recommended that the host carry out rescue. The system prompt suddenly sounded, and Gu Yi saw an illusory small map in front of him, marked with 4 white dots and 1 red dot. At this moment, the white dots were slowly approaching the red dot in an encirclement. Zhu Zhuqing. How could she be here? That's right, at the current time point, it's quite normal to appear here. Just why did you encounter a crisis? Although he was very puzzled in his heart, Gu Yi quickly realized that this seemed to be an opportunity to gain favor. After all, Zhu Zhuqing is also a member of the system list. This opportunity cannot be missed. You wait here first, I'll go back as soon as I go. Signal the groom to stop, and Gu Yi rushed towards the direction at full speed according to the location marked on the map. Meanwhile, in the forest. Zhu Zhuqing, dressed in black, sat down next to a giant tree, panting heavily and her face pale. She tightly covered her right leg with both hands, as if she had been injured quite a bit. Hee. Zhu Zhuqing, I want to see where else you can go. A masked man walked towards him, with a cheetah phantom behind him, holding a dagger in his hand and his eyes filled with ridicule and sneer. Zhu Zhuqing just looked at him coldly and didn't speak. She propped up her injured right leg, barely stood up, and assumed a combat posture. But in fact, only she knew that her soul power was about to run out, and she was no match for him at this moment. Hee, do you still want to fight? You should die peacefully. Only then will Miss Zhuyun feel at ease. As soon as the words fell, the masked man suddenly took action and rushed towards Zhu Zhuqing, stabbing a dagger into his chest. Zhu Zhuqing immediately counterattacked, his sharp claws showing a cold light and piercing towards his abdomen. The masked man's reaction was extremely fast. At the moment of being hit, he used his soul skill to perform another jump in the air, and then with a whip leg, he kicked Zhu Zhuqing out directly. Cough cough. This strike hit Zhu Zhuqing's side waist. She fell weakly to the ground, coughing up blood from her mouth, as if she had been seriously injured. In addition, with the exhaustion of soul power, even the martial soul is unable to sustain itself at this time. She covered her chest with a fierce gaze. Even if she is seriously injured, she will never give up. In her dictionary, she didn't give up these 2 words. Humph. This time, I won't give you any more opportunities. The masked man let out a cold snort, his soul power condensed, and he struck and fell. After several days of escape, Zhu Zhuqing no longer had the strength to dodge and could only watch as the dagger approached him. At this moment, a strange figure suddenly appeared in front of her without warning. Bang! The sound of metal collision rang out, and in the frightened gaze of the masked man, the dagger broke in 2 and was then blown away by a strange shockwave. Who? The masked man took a few steps back, his eyes alert, his palms trembling, and his tiger's mouth cracking. Just a passing soul master, Gu Yi sneered back. If he had come later just now, Zhu Zhuqing would have been offline because of this. Fortunately, at a critical moment, he used his 3rd soul skill. Space transfer, and then used his 1st soul skill. Dragon body, to block the blow. Humph. Since you're passing by, I advise you not to meddle in your own business. The masked man's expression was fierce and he threatened inwardly. Gu Yi ignored it and turned to look at Zhu Zhuqing, asking with concern, can you still hold on? Zhu Zhuqing felt a bit dazed for a moment, but nodded with difficulty. Seeing that she was in good condition, Gu Yi looked back at the masked person and her face instantly turned cold. I know you still have 3 companions. Don't hide, let's go together. I'm in a hurry. As he spoke, behind Gu Yi appeared a dragon-shaped phantom made up of a skeleton, with 3 soul rings surrounding his feet. Soul Lord. This kid is Soul Lord. What kind of martial soul is this? It's so eerie. Looking at the scene in front of him, the masked man couldn't help but take a few steps back. In order to avoid attracting attention, the highest number of assassins sent by the Zhu family was only the Great Soul Master, and now only 4 are left. How can I fight this Soul Lord? He may need to think about this question for a long time, but Gu Yi has no intention of waiting. The second soul skill, penetrating bone needles. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Obtaining Goddess Favorability. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Obtaining Goddess Favorability, Scatter. Withdraw first. Seeing Gu Yi about to take action, the masked person led immediately spoke up. At the moment when his words fell, Gu Yi's body condensed dozens of thin needles that looked like bones. With the gentle movement of Gu Yi's fingers, they turned into streams of light and flew towards the masked person. The speed of this flying needle is extremely fast, and the slowest masked person is about to be hit. In a hurry, he places a dagger horizontally in front of him, trying to block it. But the next second, he was stabbed into a sieve. The penetrating power of this bone needle is so terrifying. Not finished yet, the remaining 3 people saw that the bone needles couldn't stop them, so they used their speed advantage to dodge. Although they couldn't dodge everything, fortunately they only suffered minor injuries. Just as they were about to run away again, their eyes suddenly widened and they fell to the ground losing their lives. Don't think you just need to dodge once, I still have a 3rd soul skill, Gu Yi chuckled lightly. Seeing that the matter had been resolved, Gu Yi quickly turned around and helped Zhu Zhuqing up, but found that she had fainted. It seems like I'm really exhausted, Gu Yi sighed and crouched down to hold Zhu Zhuqing in her arms. Subsequently, he used space transfer several times in a row, constantly approaching his carriage. Soon, Gu Yi carried Zhu Zhuqing back to the carriage. Uncle Mo, I'm back. Let's speed up a bit. Are you back? Alright. We're leaving now. The coachman was first surprised, but then remembered that Gu Yi was a soul master, so he was no longer surprised and immediately drove the carriage. In the car, Gu Yi calmly placed Zhu Zhuqing aside, but the opponent was only exhausted, and he could only handle the wound on his right leg briefly. What needs to be done now is to rush to Shrek Academy as soon as possible. Oscar's recovery sausage can help Zhu Zhuqing very well. As for now, he can only reluctantly help Zhu Zhuqing with his leg injury. It's so long. So white. That's right. Only this kind of gauze is clean. Let's wrap it up for her first. During this period, Gu Yi's movements were very careful, afraid of stimulating Zhu Zhuqing or causing any misunderstandings. He still knows Zhu Zhuqing's personality very well. If he were to manually move his feet while maneuvering now, it would definitely cause Zhu Zhuqing's disgust. An iceberg beauty like this can only melt her step by step until she reveals the tenderness in her heart. Gu Yi actually had a great heart for Zhu Zhuqing in her past life. In order to find Dai Mubai, she chased her all the way from the Star Luo Empire to the Heavenly Do Empire. During this time, she was ambushed countless times by her own sister. Every step is full of dangers, as long as you choose the wrong path, death awaits you. As a result, on her first day at Shrek College, what she saw was Dai Mubai embracing each other, feeling very happy. When Gu Yi saw this, he was almost furious. Can Dai Mubai still be considered a person? Cowardly. Incompetence lust. Even if he recognized Zhu Zhuqing and this young girl who only wanted to see him from afar, he didn't show any signs. Since you don't know how to cherish, then let me do it, Gu Yi said to herself in her heart. Compared to Ning Rongrong, Zhu Zhuqing doesn't know how much better she is. Although she is a bit aloof, she is actually just cold on the outside and hot on the inside. She is extremely focused on emotions and not as arrogant and stubborn as Ning Rongrong. Speaking of appearance and physique, this is quite obvious. Compared to lychees, Gu Yi still prefers watermelons. Of course, this is just Gu Yi's idea. Currently, he still prioritizes improving his favorability. But all of this will have to wait until Zhu Zhuqing wakes up, so let's do what we have in hand first. With this in mind, Gu Yi accelerated the speed of the bandage in his hand and quickly treated the wound. Alright, let's wait for you to wake up slowly now, Gu Yi muttered to herself. I immediately sat on the other side of the carriage and began to recover the soul power I had just consumed. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining Zhu Zhuqing's 5% favorability, and reward the host with a 100-year increase in the lifespan of all soul rings. Suddenly, a system prompt came to Gu Yi's mind. He was momentarily taken aback, then glanced helplessly at Zhu Zhuqing, feeling a wave of fear in his heart. Good guy. Fortunately, he had no ulterior motives in his heart. This girl was actually pretending to be unconscious with him just now. If we had just made some small moves, we would probably have gained another level of goodwill. 0.8%. If the lifespan of the soul ring is increased by 100 years, which is only 5%, there is such a good reward. But if it is 50%, it will still be 100%. Gu Yi exclaimed in her heart, increasingly looking forward to the rewards ahead. In the following time, the carriage became very quiet and returned to its previous state. As the carriage galloped rapidly, everyone soon arrived at the village where Shrek Academy was located. Here, as described in the novel, although it lacks the grandeur and prosperity of Tiando City, it adds a touch of tranquility and peace. Gu Yi's carriage stopped at the entrance of a relatively luxurious hotel. He looked at Zhu Zhuqing, who was sleeping beside him, carefully picked him up again, and used soul skills to leave the carriage. He walked to the front desk of the hotel holding Zhu Zhuqing like this. Hello, welcome to Rose Hotel. Do you want to open a room? The front desk glanced at the decorations on Gu Yi's body and warmly greeted him. Rose Hotel. A very familiar name, Gu Yi seems to have heard it somewhere before. But he didn't think much and smiled as he spoke up to the front desk, please help me open 2 rooms, preferably adjacent. She needs to rest. Upon hearing this, the front desk immediately showed a, I understand, expression. Sorry, our hotel is doing very well today and we only have 1 king-size room left. Look. Gu Yi was speechless in his heart, he's really not that kind of person. I can tell at a glance whether your business here is good or not. I'm not joking, please help me open 2 rooms. Use this gold card to pay for the room. Speaking, Gu Yi used his soul technique again, and the gold card in his pocket appeared on the counter out of thin air. Gold card, alright. I'll check you in now. Seeing Gu Yi holding a gold card in her hand, the receptionist immediately became nervous. This is a rare big client. If an arrangement is not in place and makes this master unhappy, then wait for her fate. She didn't dare to think about it anymore. After quickly completing the check-in procedures, she brought Gu Yi to the room. The decoration of the room is very beautiful, with a heart-shaped king bed filled with roses inside. Gu Yi gently placed Zhu Zhuqing on the bed and kindly covered her with a blanket. Finally, he brought a basin of hot water from the room and carefully wiped her cheeks. After finishing all of this, Gu Yi left satisfied. But less than 3 minutes after Gu Yi left, Zhu Zhuqing on the bed slowly opened her eyes. She looked at the nearby water basin and the huge room, and her heart was touched. If it weren't for encountering Gu Yi, she would have died now. Because she was afraid that Gu Yi would also be a rogue who started to act recklessly, Zhu Zhuqing kept pretending to be asleep. In fact, she had been slowly recovering her soul power. As long as Gu Yi dared to take action, she would definitely attack Gu Yi in the first time. But he didn't. Not only did she not, but she also cared for her as a passerby who met by chance. For a moment, a warm current surged out of Zhu Zhuqing's wounded heart. She looked at the wound on her right leg that had been treated and whispered. "Thank you." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Eternal Soul Bones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Eternal Soul Bones, Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Zhu Zhuqing's 15% favorability, and reward the host with a 10,000-year left arm soul bone. Ding. The soul bone is taken from the 10,000-year dark prison flame demon dragon, and the soul bone skill is black dragon prison flame explosion. It releases an energy shock from the left arm, which comes with a demonic flame and ignores any defensive soul skills. Ding. The soul bones have fused on their own. Listening to the sound of prompts in his mind, Gu Yi felt a bit confused for a moment. Why did it rise again? He didn't seem to have done anything special just now, so he helped her open a room and wiped her face, which increased her price by 10% again. Hee hee. Is that the difference? In just one day, I can get so much favor from Zhu Zhuqing. Ning Rongrong. Even dogs don't lick. In just one day, Gu Yi instantly understood the difference between them. Original body. You're really damn it. The easier it is for other goddesses to increase their favorability, the darker Ning Rongrong's image in Gu Yi's heart becomes. But Gu Yi was too lazy to think so much. At this moment, he was even more curious about the effect of this soul bone skill. Look at this skill introduction, ignoring any defensive soul skills, just this is very strong. Coincidentally, in just 2 days, the enrollment of Shrek College should also begin. Then, let's use Zhao Wuji to test this soul bone skill. Due to Zhu Zhuqing's issue, Gu Yi arrived a few days earlier, but it was all for the sake of goodwill, which was not a big deal. But now there is another issue facing Gu Yi, which is Ning Rongrong. This little witch of the 7 treasures glass sect, according to the situation mentioned in the original work, will definitely enroll in Shrek in the future. At the thought of facing this arrogant little witch, Gu Yi felt a headache. Forget it, let's see later. Anyway, I can't give up Shrek College. Try to avoid any contact with her then. After thinking about these things, Gu Yi got up to wash up and then peacefully fell asleep. I have been resting on the carriage for the past month, and now that I finally have a big bed, Gu Yi naturally wants to enjoy it. The next morning, Gu Yi woke up very early and left the hotel after finishing his toiletries. Due to being chased for a long time, Zhu Zhuqing's body is still very weak. Gu Yi now wants to go to Shrek Academy. As long as Oscar can be found, all these problems can be solved. Coincidentally, as soon as Gu Yi arrived at the entrance of Shrek Academy, he heard a shout of sales. Selling sausages, selling sausages. Take a look, take a look. Oscar brand sausages are delicious, sweet, and affordable. Upon hearing the sound, Gu Yi looked and saw an old man with white hair and beard, wearing goggles, and a slightly emaciated figure selling sausages. Seeing this, Gu Yi smiled at the corner of her mouth and walked quickly towards the small stall. Oscar's appearance is exactly the same as described in the original work. If it weren't for knowing in advance, Gu Yi wouldn't have thought that he was actually the genius food-based soul master with innate soul power. Do you want to buy sausages? Oscar brand sausages are absolutely delicious and sweet, costing only 5 copper soul coins per piece. Seeing Gu Yi walking over, Oscar immediately warmly welcomed him. Well, I need 2, please help me wrap them up, Gu Yi responded softly. He knew that the sausages at Oscar's stall contained his soul skills, and at most 2 would make Zhu Zhuqing lively and lively. Okay. Thank you for your patronage. If you think it's delicious, come back. As soon as the stall opened, business began, and Oscar happily waved goodbye to Gu Yi. Gu Yi also waved his hand as he walked, which was considered a response. Returning to the hotel again, Gui walked to Zhu Zhuqing's room and knocked on the door. "Are you awake? If you wake up, just say, 'I'm coming in.'" Gui patiently waited at the door, waiting for Zhu Zhuqing's reply. He had long known that Zhu Zhuqing was awake, and with her alertness, as long as he knocked on the door, she would definitely be able to detect it. "You come in." Soon, the weak voice of Zhu Zhuqing came from the room. Upon hearing the reply, Gui pushed open the door and walked in. In the room, Zhu Zhuqing leaned against the bedside and looked at Gui with gratitude in her eyes. "Just wake up, is there anything else uncomfortable now?" Gui asked gently. Since Zhu Zhuqing's previous behavior can greatly enhance her favorability towards her, Gui plans to continue following her gentle and warm man persona. "It's already much better, thank you for saving me," Zhu Zhuqing said with a smile. "It's okay, this is what I should do. Come on, you eat these 2 sausages. They are soul skills created by food-based soul masters, which enhance recovery. As long as you eat them, you should also recover soon." Speaking, Gui handed Oscar's sausage over. Zhu Zhuqing took the sausage, nodded, and then took a bite. For her now, Gui is trustworthy. If he wanted to take action, he had already taken action last night. As the sausage was swallowed by Zhu Zhuqing, an extremely gentle force also flowed through her body. They nourished Zhu Zhuqing's body and quickly recover from her injuries. In just a moment, Zhu Zhuqing's originally pale pretty face gradually regained its color. "It seems that you should have recovered almost by now," Gui said with a smile. "Well, thank you very much for taking care of me these days. If it weren't for you, I would probably have died now." Zhu Zhuqing's tone was very gentle, and the gratitude in her eyes was overflowing. Just as Gui was about to answer, the entire hotel suddenly trembled like an earthquake. Sensing the abnormality, Gui stood up. At that moment, he seemed to feel a strong wave of soul power. "Is there anyone downstairs engaged in a soul master duel?" Gui guessed. Suddenly, he seemed to realize something. No wonder he thought the name of this hotel was very familiar. Isn't this the hotel where Tang San and Dai Mubai first met? Calculating the time, it seems that now is the time for Tang San and Xiao Wu to arrive at Shrek. Thinking of this, everything seems very reasonable. "I'll go down and take a look, you rest here." Gui instructed Zhu Zhuqing, and then he was about to walk downstairs. "Let me go with you." Zhu Zhuqing got out of bed and, after being nourished by the super recovery sausage, she had almost recovered now. "The aura just now. Is it him?" Zhu Zhuqing was curious in her heart. At that moment, she seemed to feel the breath of Dai Mubai. "Okay, let's go down together," Gui pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. The two of them quickly walked downstairs, and gradually, a sound of argument came from their ears. "Both of you, stop fighting and apologize to Dai Xiao as soon as possible." "No. It's clear that we came first, why apologize to him?" "Humph. This room was originally reserved by Dai Xiaoxian, are you still willing to say so?" "That's right, why don't you hurry and get out of here?" Listening to the sound in his ear, Zhu Zhuqing quickened his pace. Dai Xiao. Mu Bai. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Death of Heart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Death of Heart. There are several figures standing on both sides of the front desk in the hotel lobby. On the right, a muscular blonde boy is hugging and playfully gazing at the young girl on the other side. The blonde boy was dressed in luxurious attire, and the two beauties beside him were also graceful and graceful. His hands were wrapped around their waists, looking very intimate. On the other side, a slender and cute girl wearing rabbit ear jewelry was glaring at the three of them with anger. She was about to take action, but was stopped by a black-haired boy beside her. "It's really..." Zhu Zhuqing stood on the side corridor, although she could only see her back, she dared to conclude that the blonde young man who was embracing each other must be Dai Mubai. She has recalled this silhouette too many times in her mind. Ha! Is this the explanation you want? Zhu Zhuqing sneered to herself. Looking at the scene before her, Zhu Zhuqing couldn't remember for a moment why she came to the Barak kingdom. Why did you have to find this remote small village? Why do you even want to escape from the Zhu family even if you're being chased? Now, Zhu Zhuqing only feels very ridiculous, like a clown. Although she had already been abandoned by others, she still chased after her and almost died on the road. But what about others? Now not only are there beautiful women around him, but he also looks very happy. She is ultimately just redundant. Are you okay? On the side, Gu Yi asked Zhu Zhuqing in a soft voice. He knew that Zhu Zhuqing must be feeling very down now. The girl rushing for love, seeing this scene before her, must be filled with sadness in her heart. I'm fine, let's go back, Zhu Zhuqing said with a feigned indifference. She doesn't want to see that person anymore. Well, you go back first. I may have some things to do, Gu Yi replied. Speaking, Gu Yi bypassed Zhu Zhuqing and walked towards the front desk. What do you want to do? Zhu Zhuqing hesitated and asked. Judging from their appearance, they should be able to take action later. I can't bear to see a soul lord bully two great soul masters, Gu Yi said with a smile as he paused in his footsteps. In fact, Gu Yi lied here, he is not the kind of boring person who likes to meddle in things. He now has more thoughts in his heart, just wanting to beat Dai Mubai up and vent his anger on Zhu Zhuqing. At the same time, the front desk was already tense, and after a provocation from Dai Mubai, Tang San was also ready for battle. But just as Dai Mubai was attacking Tang San, Gu Yi's figure suddenly appeared between the two and grabbed Dai Mubai's fist. The sudden appearance of Gu Yi surprised everyone present. Who are you? Dai Mubai frowned as he looked at Gu Yi and asked. What's the point of a soul master bullying two great soul masters? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Gu Yi didn't answer, spoke on his own and threw Dai Mubai's fist out. Humph. You like to meddle in your own business, right? Then I'll take a look. How many pounds and tails do you have? Dai Mubai snorted coldly and said disdainfully. As the words fell, a white tiger shadow appeared behind Dai Mubai, revealing the best combination of yellow and purple soul rings. Dai Mubai, Martial Soul Evil Eyes White Tiger, Level 37 War Soul Zun, please advise. Dai Mubai didn't rush to take action, just put on a good combat posture and waited for Gu Yi. The next moment, he saw a phantom of a dragon-shaped skeleton emerging behind Gu Yi, and the soul ring under his feet was also yellow and purple. Gu Yi, Martial Soul Bone Dragon, Level 35 War Soul Zun, please advise. After responding, Gu Yi stood still, as if not intending to take action first. Okay. Then be careful. White Tiger Flame Light Wave. Dai Mubai let out a furious shout, and a snow-white energy light shot out from his mouth, directly attacking Gu Yi. The speed of this energy light is very fast, and it is about to bombard Gu Yi in the blink of an eye. But still Gu Yi remained in place, without any movement, as if fearless. Space transfer. Just as the light was about to hit Gu Yi used the third soul technique. Immediately, the energy light was absorbed by the black hole that suddenly appeared in front of Gu Yi. And in the next second, Dai Mubai's figure flew backwards and collided with a nearby stone pillar. Okay. Well done. Seeing Dai Mubai fly backwards, Xiao Wu immediately cheered on the side. Let him be so arrogant. Do you now know how powerful it is? On the side, Tang San frowned. The scene just now was clearly visible to him with his purple magic pupils. At the moment when the white tiger flame light wave was engulfed by the black hole, a similar black hole quietly appeared in Dai Mubai's abdomen. Therefore, the person who just hit Dai Mubai was himself. Is this soul skill a bit too domineering? But the battle was not over yet. Dai Mubai, who collided with the stone pillar, quickly stood up and performed his third soul skill. The White Tiger Diamond Transformation. Since the first soul skill is not working, then use hand-to-hand combat to solve it. Come again. Dai Mubai let out another loud shout, and his body leaped back to Gu Yi. He suddenly caught a cold light from his tiger paw and slapped it directly at Gu Yi's face. With this blow, Dai Mubai exerted all his strength. Kegui still didn't make any movements, just stood still and looked at him calmly. Space transfer. Bang! Another muffled sound rang out, and Dai Mubai took an incredible few steps back, covering his painful right face with his left hand, his brain momentarily shrouded. Transferred again. This soul skill. Really unsolvable. On the side, Tang San exclaimed in amazement. At least for now, he can't think of how to crack this soul skill. I don't believe it anymore. You're such a cult. Dai Mubai roared. He kept swinging his fists, adjusting different angles each time, and each time he was swinging with full force. But useless, the fist that was thrown out would fall on him every time. For a moment, Gu Yi just stood still, while Dai Mubai was bruised and swollen all over. He stood on the side, panting heavily. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. You're such a scoundrel with your soul skill. Dai Mubai waved his hand and said angrily. I thought it was just a release-type soul skill that would be transferred by his soul skill, but I didn't expect that even his own fist could be transferred. Hitting him is equivalent to hitting oneself, how can we still hit him? If you win, give them this room. Let's go. Speaking, Dai Mubai withdrew his martial soul and waved to the two beautiful women beside him, ready to leave. But at the moment he turned around, he froze and stared blankly at the entrance of the corridor, feeling flustered and unable to believe it. Zhu Zhuqing. Dai Mubai tentatively called out. But at this moment, the two beautiful women who had previously gathered around him, habitually holding on to Dai Mubai's arm. Zhu Zhuqing. Dai Xiao, who are you calling? Yeah, are you mistaken? We're not called Zhu Zhuqing. The two of them coquettishly joked beside Dai Mubai. Seeing this scene, Zhu Zhuqing's face became even colder, and she quickly walked towards Dai Mubai. Scared, Dai Mubai pushed the two of them away with a guilty heart, standing in the same place feeling somewhat bewildered. But Zhu Zhuqing bypassed him directly and walked up to Gu Yi, speaking softly. I seem a bit hungry. Do you want to go have breakfast together? Okay. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Obtaining External Soul Bones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Obtaining External Soul Bones. Zhu Zhuqing. You. Didn't you come to find me? Who is he? As Gu Yi and his wife were about to leave, Dai Mubai became anxious and directly asked. But Zhu Zhuqing didn't pay attention to him. Instead, he grabbed Gu Yi's right hand and gently pulled him towards the door. Wait. Seeing Zhu Zhuqing ignoring him, Dai Mubai exclaimed in surprise again. He quickly walked up to Zhu Zhuqing and wanted to grab her hand. But Gu Yi's right hand clamped it down. What do you want to do to my friend? Gu Yi asked coldly with a fierce expression on her face. His right hand had great strength, causing Dai Mubai's wrist to ache. Zhu Zhuqing, don't you remember me? I'm Mubai. How did you come here? My big brother and his team. Shouldn't have done anything to you, right? Dai Mubai ignored Gu Yi and continued to inquire with Zhu Zhuqing. But Zhu Zhuqing always had a cold face and didn't want to see him. I'm hungry, Zhu Zhuqing whispered again. Gu Yi immediately understood the meaning of her words, shook off Dai Mubai's hand, and directly used the third soul skill. In an instant, the two disappeared into the hall and appeared on the street. But Dai Mubai still didn't want to give up and rushed out immediately. But before he could make any move, Gu Yi's second soul skill aimed at him. My friend doesn't want to see you now. If you dare to come closer, I promise these bone needles will prick you into a hedgehog. Gu Yi threatened coldly. Humph. Do you think I'll be scared? Dai Mubai asked in disdain. You'll be afraid, didn't you do the same thing before? Suddenly, Zhu Zhuqing spoke again, looking at Dai Mubai expressionlessly and coldly. As soon as these words were spoken, Dai Mubai, who was originally somewhat angry, suddenly disappeared. He fell silent, although he tried his best to explain, he didn't know how to speak when it came to his mouth. Looking at Dai Mubai's appearance, Zhu Zhuqing was completely disappointed. She turned around and looked at Gu Yiru, saying in a soft voice, let's go. Gu Yi nodded, waved his hand to release his soul skill, and then left with Zhu Zhuqing. Watching the two of them leave, Dai Mubai felt as if he had lost something extremely important in his heart. He clenched his hands tightly, but could only gradually loosen them. Yes, she was the one he abandoned first. Gu Yi and Zhu Zhuqing casually found a breakfast stand and sat down. After what happened just now, the atmosphere between the two was a bit awkward for a moment. Your injury is just right, so don't eat anything too greasy. How about clear congee and some corn? Gu Yi asked softly, looking at the menu in his hand. Okay, Zhu Zhuqing lowered her head and responded softly. At this moment, she was still somewhat absent-minded, secretly paying attention to the expression on Gu Yi's face. Aren't you curious? Zhu Zhuqing spoke again. I'm curious, but I feel like asking might hurt you, so I'll listen when you want to tell me, Gu Yi smiled. I was being chased, and you saved me. Aren't you afraid of trouble coming to you? Zhu Zhuqing asked again. Even if there's trouble, I can't just watch you get killed, can I? Gu Yi asked in reverse. Zhu Zhuqing fell silent. She lowered her head and recalled the little things Gu Yi had done to take care of herself these past 2 days. A stranger who met by chance could treat themselves so well, to the extent that they didn't even know each other's names. And Dai Mubai, the man she once deeply loved, not only ran away when she needed him the most, but also was so carefree outside. Perhaps, in his heart, he had long forgotten the girl named Zhu Zhuqing, right? Here comes congee. 2 guests, take your time. If you don't have enough, you can add more. Quickly, the boss placed breakfast in front of the two of them, reminded them, and then returned to the kitchen. Gu Yi expertly served congee, put it in front of Zhu Zhuqing, and gently reminded him, eat it, and be careful. Zhu Zhuqing nodded and looked firmly at Gu Yi. Zhu Zhuqing, this is my name. You can call me Zhuqing. What's your name? Zhu Zhuqing asked. Gu Yi, nice to meet you, Zhuqing. Gu Yi smiled and said. Why are you here? Judging from your attire, you don't seem like someone who would come here, Zhu Zhuqing asked curiously. I plan to come here to enroll. There is a Shrek college here, and enrollment will start tomorrow, explained Gu Yi. Enrollment. Zhu Zhuqing repeated, then glanced at Gu Yi again and said nothing more. What? Do you think there's anything bad about it? Gu Yixuan asked. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head and said, no, I'm going too. That would be great, having a friend to go with would make you not afraid of getting bored, Gu Yi said happily. He was originally afraid that Zhu Zhuqing would feel disgusted with Shrek College because of what happened just now, but now he finally feels at ease. Well, my friend. Zhu Zhuqing's face showed a smile, and her mood finally improved. Very beautiful, really beautiful. This is the first time Gu Yi has seen Zhu Zhuqing smile because of happiness. For a moment, Gu Yi was completely stunned. And Zhu Zhuqing also noticed this, with a blush on her cheeks and a shy look as she lowered her head. This action instantly made Gu Yi react. He coughed lightly twice and scratched the back of his head with some embarrassment. In order to hide his embarrassment, he quickly filled up kanji and began to devour it. Seeing him like this, Zhu Zhuqing felt a bit amused and secretly smiled for a while. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining Zhu Zhuqing's favorability of 40%. Reward the host for obtaining the external soul bone wing. External soul bone effect. Gains flying ability, and each bone spur on the bone wing can be controlled according to one's heart. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 5% liking for Xiaowu. Reward the host for increasing the lifespan of all soul rings by 100 years. Suddenly, Gu Yi's mind rang with a system prompt sound. And at the moment when the words fell, Gu Yi felt as if there was something behind him, and his soul power also increased significantly. This made Gu Yi's mood greatly improve. It's too simple. Following this trend, in just a few days, he can gather a full-body soul bone, and the age of all soul rings may also exceed 1,000 levels. Quickly, the two finished their breakfast and spent the rest of the time in the hotel practicing, preparing for tomorrow's assessment. The next morning, Gu Yi woke up Zhu Zhuqing early and together they arrived at the entrance of Shrek College. Although it was early morning, the entrance to the college was already crowded with people, forming a long queue. All of this can be attributed to Fran's admission announcement. After all, it was written with the bold words, "You can become a viscount after graduation." Zhu Zhuqing and Gu Yi stood at the end of the queue, patiently waiting. But at this moment, the careful Gu Yi noticed a familiar figure in the team. Sure enough. You still came, Ning Rongrong. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Passing Assessment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Passing Assessment. Gu Yi, what are you looking at? Zhu Zhuqing noticed Gu Yi's abnormality and, while asking, she also followed Gu Yi's gaze. Not far in front of them stood a young girl, dressed in a water blue dress with fair skin and a smile on her face. Even as a girl, she thought she was very beautiful. I saw an acquaintance, but I didn't really want to see her. Gu Yi frowned lightly and replied. Is it the girl in the blue dress in front of her? Zhu Zhuqing asked curiously. Gu Yi nodded without explaining. The incident between the original body and Ning Rongrong is a bit embarrassing, and it doesn't make much sense to say it. Seeing Gu Yi nod, Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Ning Rongrong again, and the favorable impression caused by her appearance just now instantly disappeared. After a few days of getting along, Zhu Zhuqing thought he already knew Gu Yi very well. If someone even he disliked, it wouldn't be a good thing. Gu Yi hates it, so does she. But what the two didn't know was that just as they were quietly discussing, Ning Rongrong ahead had already noticed them. Due to the constant entanglement of his original body with her every day, Ning Rongrong was extremely sensitive to Gu Yi's voice. Even if separated by a distance, she could still notice Gu Yi's voice. Although she couldn't hear what the two were saying, in her eyes, their relationship seemed very close and not simple. Gu Yi, this follower, can really follow me wherever I go. How annoying. I thought I could get rid of him by running here. Do you want to change to another college? No way. If you want to change, it's also him. Why should I go and accommodate him, Mississippi? After a mental struggle in his mind, Ning Rongrong decided to observe the changes quietly. If Gu Yi still clings to her, she doesn't mind scolding him unconscious again, causing him to lose face. Gu Yi didn't expect Ning Rongrong to think of these things. Seeing that she didn't move, she thought she hadn't noticed her. Quickly, enrollment began, and everything was as described in the original work. The assessment requirements were extremely strict, and Dai Mubai stood on the side. Perhaps due to Zhu Zhuqing, he has been staring at Gu Yi's side all along, with complex emotions in his eyes. Unqualified. Next up. Unqualified. Next up. Unqualified. Next up. Come to our Shrek registration, you'd better understand the rules, otherwise it's a waste of time. The enrollment age cannot exceed 12 years old, and soul power must reach level 20.1. We Shrek only accept monsters, not ordinary people. Next up. The teacher in charge of the assessment is Li Yusong, a soul emperor in his 60s. After he spoke, those students who knew they couldn't meet the requirements could only leave in frustration. There were only a few people left, Tang San and Xiao Wu, standing behind Gu Yi. So coincidentally, we've met again. Are you also here to enroll in Shrek College? After the crowd dispersed, Tang San greeted Gu Yi and asked with some joy. Well, maybe we can still become classmates, Gu Yi responded. Qualified. Next up. Upon hearing the sound, Gu Yi quickly turned his head to look. At this moment, it was already their turn. Gu Yi put their tuition fees into a nearby box and extended their right hand together with Zhu Zhuqing. Well, your age is very suitable, and you can release your martial soul now, Li Yusong nodded satisfactorily. Gu Yi and Zhu Zhuqing exchanged a glance and simultaneously activated their inner soul power. The gray and purple radiances rose simultaneously, and the soul rings also appeared at their feet. This is the ghost cat, and yours is actually the world's top defensive bone dragon martial soul. So aren't you in her? Li Yusong spoke and turned his gaze to Ning Rongrong on the side, feeling somewhat surprised. I didn't expect the two geniuses of the Seven Treasures Glass sect to come to us, they really made a profit. We should be able to pass the level now, right? Before Li Yusong could say more, Gu Yi immediately spoke up and asked. Of course. Li Yusong nodded and gestured for the two to stand aside. Finally, Tang San and Xiao Wu passed the assessment without any accidents. Okay. That's great. Our college is probably going to have 5 more little monsters this year. Mu Bai, take them inside. Li Yusong smiled happily on his face. It has been a long time since there were no new students in their college. Yes, you guys come with me. As he spoke, Dai Mubai led the 5 of them towards the college. Shrek College belongs to the village college, so it does not occupy a large area. Just passing through a small square, you can see the next assessment location. This is the place to test your soul power. As long as your soul power reaches level 25 or above, you can directly skip levels 2 and 3, Dai Mubai said. To be precise, he said it while looking at Gu Yi. In his impression, only Gu Yi has exposed his soul power level. Then both of us can skip the exam directly, Gu Yi smiled at Zhu Zhuqing. We too, Tang San Xiaowu said together. And me too. The proud little princess Ning Rongrong was naturally unwilling to fall behind. Then show me your soul power. As soon as Dai Mubai finished speaking, a crystal ball for testing was thrown into Gu Yi's hand. Seeing this, Gu Yi smiled and fully mobilized her soul power inside her body. Surprised by time, the entire crystal ball emitted a diamond-like radiance. Level 37. Have you also reached level 37? Dai Mubai exclaimed in surprise. He stared incredulously at the light on the crystal ball, his brain momentarily feeling a bit confused. As for the others present, they were basically startled. It's unbelievable that Gu Yi's soul power level can be so much higher than theirs at the same age. But in fact, even Gu Yi himself was a bit stunned. He didn't even remember when he broke through level 37. Is it because the lifespan of the soul ring has increased, which has also led to a significant increase in my soul power? Gu Yi guessed to himself. It's not my fault. If it weren't for me, he would have practiced so hard. Ning Rongrong muttered to himself. It's my turn. As she spoke, Zhu Zhuqing took the crystal ball from Gu Yi's hand and began to mobilize her soul power. Level 27. Level 29. Level 29. Level 26. Finally, the 5 of them passed level 2.3 without taking the exam, and we have reached the final level, which is the most difficult point of this assessment. This fourth level is handled by Zhao Wuji, the immovable king. You should know that in the original work, even Tang San, who was shrouded in the protagonist's halo, failed in the first assessment. And all of this is because of the muscular man in front of the 6 people. Zhao Wuji. Oh. Not bad, 5 little monsters actually made it to the 4th level this year. Not bad, then I'll personally accompany you to play today. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Battle against Zhao Wuji. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Battle against Zhao Wuji. Teacher Zhao, isn't that good? Isn't this 4th level evaluated by me? Dai Mubai asked in confusion. Humph. The dean is not here, I'm the biggest one. I said, I'll go out and play myself. Time is still a stick of incense, as long as they can hold a stick of incense in my hands, this assessment will be considered passed. Now go talk to them about my strength and characteristics. I hope you understand, don't try to be clever, no one can escape my attack range with speed. At the same time, I can also remind you that it is impossible to block my attack on your own. Coordinating and cooperating with each other will be your only chance of success. Speaking, Zhao Wuji took out a stick of incense and inserted it on the ground, which was the last time he left for Gu Yi and the others to discuss countermeasures. Seeing this, Dai Mubai walked helplessly to the crowd and said, alas, originally, I was responsible for this level. All you need to do is stick to a stick of incense in my hand, and it will be considered as passing the level. But who knows what's wrong with Teacher Zhao today? He actually wants to go on stage in person. Alright, without further ado, Teacher Zhao is a power-type soul master, and his martial soul is a powerful diamond bear. His whole body is basically flawless, and he also has a nickname called Immovable King. Is this Teacher Zhao, like the teacher at the door, also a strong person at the level of Soul Emperor? Xiao Wu asked. No. Teacher Zhao is not the Soul Emperor, but he is a Soul Saint at level 76. Strong attack, War Soul Saint. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present except Gu Yi was taken aback. Soul Saint. This teacher is Soul Saint. This. Xiao Wu was somewhat frightened, and her gaze towards Zhao Wuji was filled with more fear and happiness. Fortunately, it's just a Soul Saint. Alright, we don't have much time. Let's discuss the tactics carefully. It's not easy to hold a stick of incense under Teacher Zhao's command. After Dai Mubai finished reminding them of the last sentence, he stepped aside and left space for them. But his gaze remained fixed on Zhu Zhuqing. Alright, let's first briefly introduce ourselves. My name is Tang San, and my martial soul is blue silver grass. I am good at controlling the field. My name is Xiao Wu, and my martial soul is a rabbit. I belong to the strong attack or soul master. Zhu Zhuqing, martial soul ghost spirit cat, sensitive attack type. Ning Rongrong, martial soul 7 treasures glass pagoda, auxiliary department. Gu Yi, martial soul bone dragon, defense system. As in the original work, Tang San designed an attack plan, while Gu Yi and others were responsible for executing it. But with the addition of Gu Yi, Tang San's plan would be more refined, and he also received 2 suggestions from Gu Yi. The best tactic is to focus on defense and procrastination, and to confront the Soul Saint head-on, that's just using eggs to strike stones. You cannot use control-type soul skills on Teacher Zhao, otherwise you will suffer backlash due to the large difference in soul power. These 2 points are almost the reasons for the assessment failure in the original work. As long as these 2 points can be avoided, Gu Yi believes that there is still a high probability of passing. If it really doesn't work, activate Tang San's protagonist buff. Xiao Wu is injured and the entire scene dies. However, even though he had already reached this point, Gu Yi still spoke in Tang San's ear. Lion and rabbit fight with all their might, don't regret it when it's irreparable. In the original work, if Tang San was willing to use Tang clan techniques in the first round of assessment, how could there be a second solo competition? Quickly, the time for the burning of incense came to an end, and everyone set their fighting posture, waiting for the assessment to begin. They stood in a strange position, with Gu Yi from the defense department standing in the back row, while Zhu Zhuqing from the quick attack department stood in the front. Okay. Now that you're ready, let's start the assessment. Speaking, Zhao Wuji took out another stick of incense and threw it aside. But as his words fell, the crowd present did not make any movement. They only summoned the martial soul and were alert to Zhao Wuji. Tang San felt that Gu Yi was right. The purpose of this battle was not to defeat Zhao Wuji, as long as it could delay time, it was enough. You guys don't want to go, do you? Then I'll take action first. After speaking, Zhao Wuji concentrated his soul power and slammed his palm onto the ground. Immediately after, a pair of soul power giant hands rushed towards Ning Rongrong. Zhao Wuji's goal is very clear, priority should be given to dealing with the 7 treasures glass pagoda soul master. Scatter. Tang San reminded loudly, his figure suddenly retreating to both sides. Except for Gu Yi and Ning Rongrong, everyone else quickly avoided this attack. Why don't they hide? Do you want to put in some effort? Zhao Wuji wondered in his heart. But the next moment, he found the answer in an instant, only to see the figures of Gu Yi and Ning Rongrong disappear in the last second, and then appear behind him. Teleportation. Can you still bring your teammates with you? Good kid. The hand that Gu Yi just showed caught Zhao Wuji's attention in an instant. He smiled at Gu Yi and then placed his right palm behind him to gather energy. Powerful diamond palm. With a loud shout from Zhao Wuji, his figure flashed in front of Gu Yi, and he raised his hand with a palm about to be slammed. But his speed was still a bit slower. In the last second, Gu Yi used his soul technique again and narrowly avoided the blow. Boom! This palm hit the ground, forming a huge handprint. It's time to take action, it's still a bit difficult for us alone. After evading this blow, Gu Yi immediately reminded him. Although Tang San's tactics were not primarily focused on offense, they were sometimes needed to attract Zhao Wuji's attention. When they encountered danger, Gu Yi used his soul skills to rescue them. Blue-silver entanglement. Netherworld spike. A terrifying number of blue-silver grasses emerged from the ground, locking Zhao Wuji's limbs, while Zhu Zhuqing charged forward with his sharp claws attacking his chest. Is that what's interesting? Zhao Wuji sneered and his soul power shook violently. Not only did he shatter all the blue-silver grass, but he also knocked Zhu Zhuqing out of the air. She lost her balance in the air and fell backwards. Zhao Wuji seized this opportunity, with a wicked smile on his face and crossed his hands in front of him. The 5th soul skill, strike hard and squeeze. With Gu Yi present, Zhao Wuji knows well that it may be a bit difficult to catch a single player, but he is certain that Gu Yi cannot take care of everyone at the same time. In that case, he will come and fight hard. As the black soul ring around him lit up, a vortex resembling a black hole formed in front of him, and a terrifying suction swept across the entire scene. Not good. Stay calm. Tang Sanli immediately reminded loudly. But what should Zhu Zhuqing, who has no support point in the air, do if others can still hold on for a while? She struggled desperately to find balance in the air, but as she saw the black hole getting closer, a sudden sense of fear and powerlessness arose in her heart. She closed her eyes, as if preparing to accept reality. But suddenly, one arm hugged her and a familiar voice rang in her ear. Black Dragon Prison is burning. Originally, Gu Yi saw the situation was critical and immediately used his soul skill to catch Zhu Zhuqing in the air, and then immediately activated his left arm soul bone skill. Surprised by time, a giant dragon formed by the convergence of black flames appeared out of nowhere and roared towards Zhao Wuji. Good kid. And soul bone skills. As the attack approached, Zhao Wuji could only cancel his soul skill and block it with his arms in front of his chest. Ah! Kogai's attack can ignore soul power defense. Zhao Wuji is proud and doesn't dodge, so the result is that both arms are roasted to the point of turning black by Yihun. For a moment, a burnt meat aroma wafted out of the field. Zhu Zhuqing, are you okay? Gu Yi looked at Zhu Zhuqing in his arms and asked with concern. Upon hearing the sound, Zhu Zhuqing opened her eyes and looked at the familiar face in front of her, her heart racing wildly. No, it's okay. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Ning Rongrong feeling angry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Ning Rongrong feeling angry, ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Zhu Zhuqing's 45% favorability and increasing the reward Soul Ring's lifespan by 100 years. The system's prompt sound rang again, but the current situation in the field can make Gu Yi temporarily ignore these. Kid. You're done. Zhao Wuji roared angrily, lifting his injured right arm and aiming it at Gu Yi. He's settled on this kid, but before that, he needs to vent his anger. The fourth soul skill. Positioning and tracking. As she finished speaking, Gu Yi suddenly smelled a scent of honey on her body. Not good. Gu Yi exclaimed in surprise. He had seen this soul skill in the original work, and if he didn't quickly escape from his attack range, he and Zhu Zhuqing in his arms would both be in trouble. He clearly remembered that although Zhao Wuji's soul skill was strong, it had a range limit of 100 meters. As long as he could escape this distance, he would be safe. Thinking of this, Gu Yi did not hesitate at all. He immediately used his soul skill to teleport into the air and summoned his bone wings, causing his body to quickly fly towards the air. Damn it! Flying soul bones. How many surprises are there on this kid? Since the start of this assessment, Zhao Wuji's gaze has been attracted by Gu Yi, and every move he makes can surprise Zhao Wuji. For a moment, Zhao Wuji even forgot about the other students beside him. Time's up. At this moment, the incense burned out and Dai Mubai's voice echoed throughout the room. Humph. Even if you kids are lucky this time, they barely passed my assessment. Kid. Come down now, the assessment is over. Although there was still a hint of displeasure in his heart, Zhao Wuji had to give up. But it's okay, there's still a long time ahead, and he has plenty of time to train this kid. Gu Yi, however, did not know his thoughts and slowly flew down from the air holding Zhu Zhuqing. Finally, it's over. Gu Yi gently put Zhu Zhuqing down and sighed in her heart. It was really dangerous just now. If there were no system rewards for these two soul bones, they would have fallen here just now. His current strength can only barely deal with opponents of the same class. If he wants to deal with Soul Douluo like Tang San with just one Yen Wang Tai, he must continue to work hard. Mu Bai, take them to school and help me call Oscar, Zhao Wuji ordered and then sat down cross-legged. The damage caused by Gu Yi's soul bone skill just now, he still needs to recover well. Yes. You come with me. Dai Mubai responded and walked ahead to lead the way for a few people. Shrek College is established in the village, and their dormitories are just the kind of wooden houses that ordinary people live in here. The boy dormitory is relatively harmonious here. After the assessment, Gu Yi chatted with Tang San. But the girl dormitory is not so peaceful anymore. How did you get to know Gu Yi? I advise you to stay away from him, otherwise he may cling to you. As soon as he entered the door, Ning Rongrong pretended to be kind and reminded Zhu Zhuqing. But Zhu Zhuqing ignored her directly and only focused on tidying up her bed. The scene of Gu Yi sacrificing himself to save her just now was still constantly repeating in her mind. Hello. I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Seeing Zhu Zhuqing ignoring him, Ning Rongrong's face immediately showed an angry expression, and he shouted at Zhu Zhuqing with his hands on his hips. In the Seven Treasures Glass sect, who dares to ignore themselves? But Zhu Zhuqing just gave her a cold glance and still didn't speak. She now understands why Gu Yi doesn't want to see Ning Rongrong. What do you mean? Miss, I kindly remind you, do you know what kind of person Gu Yi is? After you get entangled with him, you can't even shake him off if you want. Ning Rongrong didn't notice Zhu Zhuqing's expression and continued to talk incessantly. That's enough. Suddenly, Zhu Zhuqing let out a furious shout, with an obvious expression of anger and disgust on her pretty face. I don't know what happened between you and Gu Yi, but from now on, I don't want to hear his name from you. I am very clear about what kind of person he is, and I don't need you to remind him here. Despite slandering Gu Yi in front of her, Zhu Zhuqing could still hold back and remained calm. You. I don't know for sure. After you see who he is, it's best not to regret it. Ning Rongrong's chest was constantly heaving with anger, and his heart was filled with indescribable anger. She didn't know what kind of enchanting potion Gu Yi had given Zhu Zhuqing, but she turned towards him like this. On the side, Xiao Wu stood in place, feeling a bit lost. The two of them reacted so fiercely that their arguments made her ears ache. But fortunately, the following time was relatively calm. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing were quickly taken away by Tang San and Gu Yi to search for food together. In the huge dormitory, there was only Ning Rongrong left. Apart from her, everyone else had something to do, as if she had been isolated. Let's play. Let's all go play. Wait for me to surpass you in my cultivation. She started practicing alone, as if in a fit of anger, completely forgetting what she had disliked the most before, which was this boring practice. Time quickly arrived in the afternoon, which was the gathering time within the college. Under Dai Mubai's notice, Gu Yi and several others gathered in a small square. Hey! What kind of person do you think the dean of this college is? Xiao Wu asked curiously. After an afternoon of chatting and getting along, they have become familiar with Gu Yi and the other two. I don't know, but since he can say, only accept monsters, not ordinary people, then he probably won't be easy, Tang San guessed. Of course it's not simple. The teachers in the college are all strong individuals above the level of Soul Emperor, and the dean is likely a strong individual close to Soul Douluo, Gu Yi said confidently. For Idol Frand, this character Gu Yi still likes very much. Although he is a financial fanatic, he is wholeheartedly dedicated to the good of his students, and his protective attributes are really good. You guessed well, our dean. Suddenly, Oscar crawled out of nowhere and began introducing Frand to several people. And the remaining others also walked over slowly at this moment. Dai Mubai followed Ma Hongjun behind him, followed by Ning Rongrong. At this moment, she was deliberately distancing herself from Ma Hongjun, and the gaze he gave her made her unable to stop feeling disgusted. Has he never seen a woman before? When he saw Ma Hongjun, this was the first thought that popped out of Ning Rongrong's heart. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Ning Rongrong's attention was drawn to a burst of laughter. She looked up and saw Gu Yi laughing heartily, surrounded by Tang San and others, looking extremely harmonious. Compared to myself, I don't even have anyone to talk to around me, it feels like I'm alone. Ning Rongrong frowned and secretly muttered in his heart. Isn't he just a follower? Why is he so popular? What's good about him? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Endless Bone Domain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Endless Bone Domain. The Dean is here. Before Ning Rongrong could figure it out, he saw Fran slowly walking towards a few people. Everyone hurriedly returned to their line and stood in formation. Quickly, Fran arrived at the platform in front of them. He first glanced at Gu Yi and others, then spoke up, great. This year, we have 5 more little monsters in our college. I am Dean Frand, and I will teach you how to cultivate from now on. In college, my words are heaven, and all you need is unconditional obedience. Ning Rongrong, Oscar, you two are out. Assisting soul masters, once there is no one to protect them on the battlefield, the danger is extremely high. Therefore, running away is an essential quality for you. Your first task today is to run 20 laps around the college. Oscar. You lead the way. Oscar nodded and looked at Ning Rongrong, saying, "Come with me." As he spoke, he ran ahead and led the way for Ning Rongrong. Yes. Ning Rongrong responded. She followed closely behind Oscar, and the two of them didn't speak, running all the time. But soon, the sweat soaked Ning Rongrong's back, and her pretty face was also filled with fatigue. Such a long distance had made her unable to hold on. I have a big sausage. Oscar kept an eye on Ning Rongrong's condition and immediately handed over his big sausage when he saw that she was about to give up. Eat it, my sausage can help you quickly recover your strength. Upon hearing this, Ning Rongrong glanced disdainfully. I'll eat your head. After speaking, Ning Rongrong used the 7 treasures glass pagoda to accelerate and run out. It's really beautiful, I just have a bit of a temper. Watching Ning Rongrong leave, Oscar said foolishly. But during the time he stopped, Ning Rongrong disappeared without a trace. Zhu Zhuqing, I heard there's a Soto city nearby. Do you want to go shopping together? There were no classes throughout the afternoon, so in order to improve his popularity, Gu Yi decided to invite Zhu Zhuqing to go shopping. It is said that girls love shopping the most, and Gu Yi believes that this will definitely improve Zhu Zhuqing's favorability towards her. Okay, I happen to need to buy something too, Zhu Zhuqing agreed with a smile. When being chased, in order to reduce the burden, she threw away her luggage and now happens to be going to buy some clothes or something. But may it be a bit late? How far is Soto City from here? Zhu Zhuqing asked with some concern. It takes time for girls to go shopping, and even if they use soul power to boost their time, it should take a long time, right? Gu Yi fell into contemplation. Indeed, Soto City is some distance from Shrek Academy, and even with soul power, it may take about half an hour, which would result in wasting an hour at a time. It's only 4 hours until dark now, so we need to let Zhu Zhuqing have a good time browsing. Is there any faster way? Yes. I have a way to quickly get to the city of Soto, and it only takes 15 minutes back and forth, that's it. Speaking, Gu Yi paused and looked at Zhu Zhuqing with some embarrassment. Really? What is it? Zhu Zhuqing's eyes flashed with anticipation and asked. I just have to hold you. As you know, I have flying soul bones, which will make my speed much faster. It's definitely not because I want to hug you that way. Fearing that Zhu Zhuqing might misunderstand, Gu Yi quickly explained. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing blushed and nodded. At first, Zhu Zhuqing was a bit shy, but when she saw Gu Yi's hasty explanation, she felt that it seemed acceptable. Anyway, it's not that I haven't hugged before. If I hug again, it should be okay, right? Do you agree? Gu Yi was a bit surprised and asked again. He originally only said it with the intention of trying, and never expected Zhu Zhuqing to agree. After all, the icy beauty in the original work, who is so casual. But now, there seems to be something wrong. Zhu Zhuqing did not answer him, only nodded again with a red face. Then. Let's go. Speaking, Gu Yi summoned bone wings and immediately hugged Zhu Zhuqing with his waist in his arms, quickly flying into the air. Zhu Zhuqing was a bit nervous, her pretty face leaning against Gu Yi's embrace, and her small heart beating incessantly in her chest. She thought she had gotten used to it a long time ago, but now she's even more nervous. But suddenly, there was a sound of plop plop in her ear. The frequency of the sound was almost the same as that of her heart beating. She looked up at Gu Yi, who was even more nervous, and couldn't help but chuckle. Gu Yi is very handsome, not only has a well-proportioned figure, but even his face is like a knife carving, and his deep eyes are a soul-stirring tool. Looking at it, Zhu Zhuqing suddenly became a bit confused. She is not someone who looks at her face, but Gu Yi's face seems to have some kind of magic that always attracts her. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining Zhu Zhuqing's 50% favorability, and reward the host for obtaining the Endless Bone Domain. Ding! Domain Skill Effect. Endless Bone Domain, pull the target into a special space composed of bones, where the target's soul power is suppressed by 50%, and the bones in the space can be controlled by the host at will. Domain. Has your favorability improved again? How did it improve? Listening to the system prompt in his mind, Gu Yi was surprised and curiously lowered his head to look at Zhu Zhuqing. For a moment, the two of them looked at each other with their eyes fixed on each other. But soon, Zhu Zhuqing shyly averted her gaze, like a discovered sneaky cat. At the same time, Gu Yi's gaze was also attracted by other things. What a great evil! Gu Yi sighed in her heart, her eyes losing control at this moment. But before Gu Yi could see the details clearly, a pair of jade hands completely blocked it. Zhu Zhuqing's face was flushed, and she buried her pretty face deep in Gu Yi's chest. She was both cute and charming, as if waiting for someone to pick her. Rogue, Zhu Zhuqing's voice is very quiet, like a mosquito or fly. At this moment, in her heart, compared to dislike, there was more shyness and joy, as well as a little bit of anticipation. Gu Yi looked at Zhu Zhuqing in front of her in the posture of a small woman, her heart racing uncontrollably. This damn contrast. Although beauty is good, do not be addicted. Gu Yi just glanced back, and if he continued to look, it might have caused Zhu Zhuqing's discomfort. He decided to deeply engrave the previous scene in his mind and replay it from time to time. Sure enough. Shrek College's decision is right. Where can I find such a lovely Zhu Zhuqing without coming to Shrek College? Where can I enjoy the scenery just now? Original body, why lick Ning Rongrong? Isn't Zhu Zhuqing fragrant? It's very fragrant. Ning Rongrong. Dogs don't even lick. End of this chapter.